Hey everyone, welcome into Attacking Third. Match day 2 of the Euros has officially come to a close following Group D matches that happened today: England, Netherlands, France versus Wales. So we are talking about those. The state of England, how maybe some big players, big names are missing from the Euros and how that's affecting their teams. Plus, we're going to touch on Copa América Femenina. The competition starts this week, so we're going to do an NWSL Player Spotlight. Thanks so much for joining us live on YouTube. If you're with us here, join the combo in the chat. Let us know after 2 match days who's going to win Euro 2025. And if you're listening as a pod, thank you. Let everyone know why A3 is your favorite women's soccer podcast with a 5-star rating and review. I'm Lisa Carlin alongside CBS analyst Christine Cupo, former U.S. midfielder, Euros commentator Lori Lindsey. Guys, it is so good to be chatting with you, but Christine, I love you. I see you all the time. Lori, my friend, it is good to see your face.
Oh my goodness, great to see you both. Yes, thanks for having me on. Just
fresh off the call too,
face.
man.
What'd you say?
Busy, girl.
Oh yeah, I know. I got this kind of random light behind me that looks like, the halo type situation. So listen, here we are, but you two putting a smile on my face. So pumped to be chatting soccer with you.
Hey, producer Mark, clip her right there because we're going to get like those patron saint candles made with Lori's face on it.
Exactly.
She's either an angel or being abducted by aliens. We don't know yet. Stick around to find out what happens with Lori during the show. It's great to chat with you both about this, Lori. I know you've been on A3 a couple times, so I'm glad that I finally get to get in the mix with you and hear all of your wonderful thoughts on what's happening. Guys, before we get into all of it, though, we have some pretty exciting news because Attacking Third has been nominated for a People's Choice Award for Best Female Hosted Podcast. So thank you, everyone who listens and who watches, because without you, this would not be possible. But now we really need your help to vote for Attacking Third. You can register at podcastawards.com/app/sign up. There's going to be a link in the YouTube and the podcast description. Use the drop-down menu, select Best Female Hosted Podcast, and vote for Attacking Third. We love you guys. We are so appreciative of you, and we can't do it without you. If we're on YouTube, scan that QR code right now and vote for A3. It only takes 30 seconds. So thank you, everyone. We will be plugging that as much as we can going forward. So thanks, guys. All right, let's dive into the big convo of today, which is England. The Lionesses have a bounce-back performance with a 4-0 win over Netherlands on match day 2. This is Group D, the group of death. Goals in this 4-0 performance come from Georgia Stanway, Ella Toone, a brace from Lauren James. But the biggest point and factor in all of this is this shutout win comes just 5 days after a very unconvincing 2-1 loss to France on match day 1. Lori, I have to know, what tells us more about England, the loss against France or the win against the Netherlands?
I think they both do. I think it's one, they started the first game and it was just a tough game, right? They got a goal that was called back and then kind of lost their way, or really lost their way against France. Credit to them, because that was an excellent performance. And it really wasn't until like the last 12 minutes in that game for England versus France that we saw them come alive after the first 10 or 15. So big chunks of that game where they were non-existent. But for that team that has won the Euros previously in 2022, but then also made it to the final in the World Cup in 2023. I mean, this is a team that has championship in their bloods, right? They understand what it takes to get through a tournament. They have to fight. And so I think mostly why I say both is because to rebound after that loss, after the way they played and put in the performance they did, made a few little changes, because there was a big question mark about Lauren James and her starting that game with really just having about 30 minutes under her belt before the tournament, dealing with injury. But for her to come in, put in the performance, I mean, first of all, the ball from Hannah Hampton was just insane. And that's the quality. That is the reason why she's starting, her ability to play make, but then also the Lauren James finish. And then she adds a second one to the four-goal tally. But regardless, it's a response, the movement of Lauren James to the wide forward role, bring in Ella Toone, and just a little bit of shifts in personnel, but also Jess Carter in her more favored position, playing as a center back. Greenwood plays as a left. That was an issue in that first game against France. So I think it speaks to the entire group. you just make some changes, but also the mentality shift to be able to come back and respond, put 4 goals up. And now all of a sudden, when we all kind of coming into this game being like, is this really the group of death? It looks like maybe France is going to steamroll through. Well, now it's wide open again. No one could make to the knockout stages until the final day. So Sunday's going to be fun.
Yeah, I think she hit all of the nails on all.
Do you want me to keep going? Here we go.
When you have a conversation about like which is the real England, I think that we have to talk about Serena Wigman's ability to adjust tactically where she knew she had to, right? Like when you switch out Ella Toone, or rather Beth Mead for Ella Toone, you're getting more stability and somebody that can get more active in that midfield. That midfield played a huge part in this match, particularly in those overloads where you made sure to kind of suffocate Viv Miedema, who that's a masterclass. You need to shut her down on her own. She's lethal. But I think that defensively, that helped out Hannah Hampton a ton, because I feel like a lot of their issues in the last match were due to just, it looked like a lot of just disorganization or confusion defending set pieces. Some of the just, there wasn't that person to lock it down and say, hey, here's where we need to be. Everybody, game face is on. So the game shifted tremendously based on what, maybe like 3 or 4 changes.
Is that enough though to actually dictate an entirely different performance? Because aside from in the first game against France, aside from the opening 10 minutes and then the closing 10-15 minutes, France dominated that game, right? They absolutely destroyed playing through the midfield against England. And to make a couple tactical changes, yes, does allow Lauren James higher up the pitch to be more into space, to use a little bit more of her creativity higher up the field. It opens up a little more space for Keira Walsh centrally as well. There are ripple down effects, but it was just one personnel change for England. And the entire mindset of this team looked vastly different than what it did 5 days ago. To go in such a short amount of time to have essentially 2 different teams from England is very surprising to me.
Yeah, a little bit surprising, not super surprising. I'm with E-Man though. I do think that Greenwood and Carter, that switch to get yourself 2 ball carrying defenders, made a huge difference here. Do I think that that made a big impact here? Yes. Does a simple change like that impact in bigger games? Like, do I think this would hold up against like a Germany? I think they'd have a hell of a more dicier time against Germany. It's just tactically how you match up and lean into your strengths. They were able to suffocate Netherlands, where they only got 4 shots off all in, and 1 was on target.
Yeah, that's big. I think
they
they
were
did
able to negate them.
Yeah, I also think one of the biggest issues in that game too is that they just gave the ball back so easily to France. And then that's where France is going to hurt you, because if you're trying to play direct quickly, the ball's going to come back at just the same space or same speed. And then there's gaps in between England. And then they were chasing, right? And that's, again, where France thrives. It's there's space in between the lines. If you can get wide backs isolated, and those are the exact areas that they took care of business against England. In and around Keira Walsh, this game they did drop Georgia Stanway more consistently onto that back line, or sorry, into next to Keira Walsh, but then also it was just much more compact. But also France's front line, their front 6, you should say, because I'm just going to say that you can bring on all 3 new players, is a completely different threat than what Netherlands had as well. But I do think this is much more like the England team that we would expect to see and are going to see. Sometimes it takes teams, you're a little rattled in the first game. That's what seemed to happen after those first 10 minutes. And so I do think it's positive to see from England to have the mentality shift, to take care of business, because we've seen what Wales can do, but also this is the second defeat in a row. They've lost 3-0, now 4-1. Those are big deficits, and you're fighting for your life, right? So, and this will be a huge matchup on Sunday between those 2 teams, but England should now and has set themselves up to take care of business in that game. Not that it's not going to be a fight, but they needed that win today. And I think they knew that, or they did know that.
D is incredibly close and tight in the standings and how things are shaking out. If you look at it, France is at the top, then England, then Netherlands, and Wales. No team is eliminated. No team has clinched yet. Everything will come down to the final match day that is on Sunday. Of course, the first tiebreaker is head-to-head. Lori, you mentioned having some of the first game jitters or first game stress or first game, I don't even know what, for England perhaps coming into this tournament. There was a lot of mentally turnaround from Serena Vigman to have the fortitude to say, okay, I'm not going to make that many changes. I'm going to stick to what I do as a manager. That is not changing a lot of players. She did that with England in 2022. She did that with Netherlands in 2017. Not a lot of rotation in the starting 11. And she did the same thing with this game, not benching Lauren James despite a questionable performance against France at times. Instead, a player recovering from injury like Lauren James, who played less than 30 minutes prior to this tournament since April due to a hamstring injury. There was a lot of questions as to if and why Lauren James should even be on the roster, questioning to have her start again in this game. But Lauren James was the epitome of a turnaround player that shook off all the noise from outside, got the start in the front line in this game for England against the Netherlands, and ends up with a brace, Christine. Tell me what that says about the character of Lauren James and the type of player that she is needed for this England squad.
I think that Lauren James has this mental toughness to her where if you tell her, and she's being counted out, and I'm sure she's heard it, that she will only work harder. She's come back in. She's obviously proving that she's fit, because the entire conversation around her was, why would you call her in? She's untested. You don't know if she's fit. But she was in a lengthier list of returning rehabbed players for this England side. So, if anything, she stood up. So was Greenwood. So was, you know what I mean? This team needs to come together. But I think that she's more willing to step up. She had to do this too for Chelsea. We saw her come back there. It was a little bit slow. She fought her way back. I think that you can never, ever count her out. She's extremely talented, but she also has this incredible work ethic that pairs with it.
If we have to look ahead to the Wales game, how much change could we potentially see in Serena Vigman's starting 11, Lori, if you think from game 1 to game 2 to game 3 to get out of the group?
I don't think we're going to see very many changes. She didn't change it at all in 2022. And she's known as a manager for historically doing that. So I also think there is something to said. We just had the France Wales game, and there were 7 changes from France. And in some ways, you could argue that that's too many changes, right? Now they got the victory, and Lauren Bonnaday, their manager for France, also said previously, even coming into this tournament, that they were going to make changes in this game in particular. And I have known that is typically pre-planned rotations. The second game, you want to get the win the first game, you make some pre-planned rotations, and then put yourself in the best position. And by the third game, you're kind of sticking with your main group, barring any sort of few little tactical changes.
How much does that have to do with France having a really young squad, a pretty inexperienced squad too?
Well, I mean, I would say they have quite a bit of experience, but a lot of it is inexperience on the back line, which I think is something we can talk about, especially later on, just with like missing players. But I mean, you have Kashawi, you have Gioro, you have Diani of Katoto. I mean, name them, like Majri. All these players have played in like a big championship. I just think it's about Lauren Bonnaday wanting to rotate players, to keep players confident, knowing that they can, especially after they got that victory against England in the opening game. But there are always questions about, like, what is right, what's not, and maybe just the pluses and minuses is the best way to go about it, right? Because sometimes you can almost make too many changes where you disrupt the continuity, and then you want to go back to the starting 11 that you made in the first game, the third game, and then they haven't played as many minutes. So, yeah, I mean, I just don't think we're going to see it from England. And there's research enough, even though it's a heavy load for these players. 3 full days in between games gives you maximum rest to be able to recover and be ready. So, but it is a challenge, especially with tactically and just the level of play physically that we're seeing at the women's game these days.
If Lauren James has anything to say about it, she proved today a brace.
Oh yeah, no, get her out there. I'm all for it. Lauren James, one of the best attackers in the world. You're doing whatever you can to keep her on the field.
Let her cook.
Higher up the field too. That proved today that higher up the field, she's much more effective. Goals in a variety of ways. Lauren James, Alessia Russo was spectacular in that game for England.
Assist machine. Well. We expected more goals out of her. Instead, she's like, let me get a hat trick of assists. Sure.
Exactly.
Selfless queen.
Lori, you just alluded to this, the players that are missing this tournament, how it feeds into things. There's a lot of what ifs. We can't predict the future. We can't go back and change the past, but we can sure talk about it. So don't go anywhere, guys. We are talking about impact of absence players at the Euros next. Stick with us. Hey everyone, welcome back to Attacking Third. Euros 2025 stirred up a lot of drama when rosters were dropped, players were missing, and like big players. Guys, I'm talking superstars. But the question is, does absence make the heart grow fonder? Is it making these teams stronger or weaker in this tournament? Some of the big ones. Let's start with France. They are at the top of their group right now. They're coming off a 4-1 win over Wales, and they're missing huge players. Defender and captain Wendy Renard, Eugénie Le Sommer, she has the most goals for France, and Kenza Dali, another player that was notably absent from the roster, all because of some changes managerially, wanting to get a fresh start and newer, younger players into the roster. Lori, you talked about France being mentally tested in this tournament, going down a goal that was then called back against England, conceding to Wales to tie things up 1-1 in their most recent games. Does the absence of these players cause for a bigger mental test for France?
It's an interesting question because I think in the regards of, we heard Lauren Bonnaday, again, their head coach and manager, say previously, like, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over. And that is why he wanted to change things up. Now, I think, you can make the case for Dali and Le Sommer because of the attacking players that they have. And there's a good mix of experience and inexperience. So you can make the case in his regard of why the omission on them. I think the Wendy Renard is an interesting one, though, because now you have Mbach, who is their captain and one of the center backs. She's been injured, hasn't played a minute. Lacroix, who was also the starting center back in the first game against England and one of the more experienced players, who supposedly has picked up some sort of knock, right? And so they started Sambat and Samora, and they've only played like 23 minutes together, which is in the Brazil game that they had to come back being 2-0 down, which is like the last game before, in their June friendly before coming into this tournament. So, and the thing is we saw a few times against England in the opening minutes, and then also the goal in favor of Wales, where they are a bit shaky and they're a bit disorganized. And what I mean by that is they will go player for player. They're very man-oriented, player-oriented in the back line, meaning they'll follow their players. And that is also a modern day style of defense, right? Because you get more risks by putting more players forward, but you really have to be organized defensively. And I say all of that because I don't think they've been tested consistently in 90 minutes in that regard. And so that's where I find like Wendy Renard being your captain, the threat she is on set pieces too, an interesting one. Now that hasn't hurt them yet, but will it is more of the question that I have. So yeah, I'm going to be interested in that. But like, listen, these are the bold decisions that these coaches make. I mean, when you look at this France team in general, there's a really good balance of, again, experience and youth, and they're scoring goals and they're attacking teams, and their midfield in particular, Kashawi and Gioro, I think, two of the best midfielders in this competition, if not the two best.
Sometimes people compare other nations to the Emma Hayes era that we're in right now, and coaches rarely, if ever, have the luxury that Hayes has in this moment after winning gold at the Olympics to have a huge gap of time to bring in new players, to get them trying out, to have a greater pool of players that are not just going from U23s to the senior national team, but also experiencing their first camps, their first caps, closing the gap between the 200 cap players and the 0 cap players. Other federations don't have that luxury ever. This is a rarity to see in the international game. And this is a decision that France had to make, especially in this situation with these players, because it wasn't due to it wasn't due to them withdrawing or injuries. I think that Wendy Renard is a big miss at this tournament. Now, it's hard to say that because France is they're winning and they're at the top of the game, but they do look defensively disorganized at times. There was another chance in this Wales game, Lori, where Wales almost scored because all the French back line got pulled to the one side. Basha was pulled out. It was like, who is going everywhere? What's happening?
There are two vital things that Wendy Renard does. And one is be that anchor stabilizer that composes the back line. And the other is being an aerial threat, both defensively and in attack. And they don't have that in any of those players in the back. Here's the thing, unpopular opinion, and I love Wendy Renard. I was okay with her omission here. She's a little bit slower. I see what Laurent Bonnaday wants to be doing. And there's a lot more pace on this field and there's a lot more youth. And I think that in an ideal world where everybody's healthy, Mbak and Lacroix are the starters and he's safe there. After that is what? Samora and then
Sambat, who played today,
Sambat, who played today, right? Who is very green, right? Like ideally you don't end up with Samora and Sambat together, but we saw it. They managed.
But if France win the Euros, this conversation
changes. Right, it's a moot point, right? And I think that he's doing the right thing anyway. I think that in the style that he wants to be playing in, he's chosen the right bodies, and a few are greener than others. But yeah, it's going to be all in finger pointing if things go sideways, and it's something that Wendy Renard specifically could have filled the void for.
Okay, let's talk about England in this sense too, because a number of players, Mary Earps, the goalkeeper, announcing her retirement, Millie Bright prioritizing her mental and physical health, Fran Kirby not chosen and then announced her retirement. Of this England squad and of these three notable absences, is there one that has had a greater impact or an impact on this team so far?
I would just say from like a Millie Bright standpoint, when you think of consistent experience, depth on the back line, but it's also my understanding too, because when you look at a Hannah Hampton and the way that she plays and that ball that she played that led to the first goal for Lauren James, this is the style they wanted to play. And so and even in the first game versus France, you see Leah Williamson, Alex Greenwood were the two center backs. They get really wide. Then you play higher with your two outside backs, and that allows for Hannah Hampton to come in and almost play as like a third center back. Or if she's deeper, then you just bring Kira Walsh, you drop her down. Now, we've seen other teams do this, but this is like the evolution of England. And so you can see like now, Millie Bright, it sounds like it's for her mental health, right? So yeah, you think, but right, exactly. But I'm just saying like the evolution of this game and maybe where she was starting or not starting, but you could utilize her with her being a captain, with the experience at Chelsea, all of these things, right? So I see hers being a greater impact, very much like what we were talking about with Wendy Renard, just in the fact that they've had to shift players around too on that back line for England. And most importantly, the spine is where England has the most limited minutes. Alex Greenwood's come back from an injury, Georgia Stanway, Lauren James, who played centrally in the first game. So right up the spine or on the left side, because Hemp as well, all coming back with limited minutes due to injury.
Yeah, that's a good little wrinkle to throw in there. I've been looking at Germany, though, because this is a team coming into it without Alex Pop, Lena Magul, Merle Froms, the goalkeeper, all retired from the international game. Lena Oberdorf is still not available, coming back from her injury. And then the devastating injury to Julia Gwynn in the opening match day, the captain. And there was a lot of question marks about how Germany was going to set up, how they were going to move forward, who was going to score all their goals, right, without Alex Pop. But I've been very impressed with the overall leveling up of Germany as a nation, as a group overall. They've almost been like this silent killer over the last couple of years, disrupting teams, pulling points off them, winning bronze, just taking points and playing a bigger role than a lot of people have given them credit for. And now we see Jules Brand coming into this tournament and making a name for herself. Leah Schuler doing a lot of the dirty work that goes unnoticed in the front line. And the absence of Julia Gwynn now, I think, has brought this group together even more. which is scary to think about because an injury like that to your captain, to a leader, to a player that works so hard on both sides of the ball, scoring goals and defending, who is also at a point in their game right now, exactly, man, Gvin playing so well right now, that can either hurt a team or galvanize them together. And already in just the limited minutes that we've seen in one match of Germany, 2 wins, they're into the knockout round, and they have galvanized despite this absence of Gvin, Christine. What have you noticed from them?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is when you lose someone like Vin, there isn't she does so much for this team, including being captain and leading, that you lose a lot that a lot of the team need to individually pick up the pieces, right? So Nuskin and Loma need to pick up some slack in the midfield. And then Yanina Minga needs to pick up the sort of that leadership role. And I think that what you basically said is like, yeah, they're coming together. That's kind of like the secret sauce here. That's how they're going to get away with surviving without Gvin because she is such a special player. I think that Germany holistically have a solid squad. And every single time that we've had this conversation where it's like, oh, going into the Olympics, Pop's gone, oh, Oberdorf's injured. And like, yeah, that's a massive hit. But they always seem to be able to turn a corner and figure out how to be stronger one person less. And that's actually insane. That I think is the most dangerous thing about Germany.
Obviously, they would prefer to have all their strength. They would prefer to have Julia Gvin at the smallest to be with this group and healthy to help lead them. But there is something to kind of unite a group in tragedy and injury and things that happen, which I think that we could potentially see with Germany. They're already out of their group. They're headed to the knockout round. They have a lot of good talent and depth that they can run with Brand and Buell. It's going to be interesting to see kind of what happens in these knockout round. We're getting a fun question here from our producer Mark right now. He's saying that if we had to rank the teams right now between France, Germany, and England, 1, 2, and 3, Lori, how would you rank them after 2 match days in the Euro?
Ooh, yeah, really good question. I maybe would go with France and just how you read them off, France, Germany, England right now. It's still early days in terms of the competition too. So I think what's interesting about this in group stages is like having the variety of the opponents that you're playing against. But I think what's interesting also about Germany, even though I have them too, is that they've already qualified in their group. And that is huge. That is huge just to continue to build like your confidence, because both of these, France and England, again, emotionally and physically have to show up and get the job done. Now, you absolutely have to keep that standard with your Germany, even though you've already qualified for the knockout stages.
But they're playing against Sweden, top competition in this match day
but
3 of their group stage.
there is a little bit of a less of a pressure, right? And it just like it really is just about staying the course. But I do feel like France and England in this group of death, their emotional aspect is heightened even more.
I think I would go France, England, Germany right now.
Okay, I like it.
England ahead of Germany based on the performance today from
that's fair.
The Lionesses. I was really impressed with how different they were from their first game, how connected they were between the lines. Defensively, they were really stout. Akira Walsh was tremendous. She did such a good job today of dictating everything that England did.
And involved, right? She's involved. When she's involved, that's how you want Kira Walsh, right? She's not this like physical imposer. She is the one that's moving the ball. So that game today was perfect for her.
Quarterbacks the entire game today. And if she can continue to find herself on the ball and in those spaces like she did today, and England can copy paste what they did moving forward, and even I think the substitutes coming off the bench, Vigman did a good job of knowing when to bring in players. They're game changers. Grace Clinton off the bench, Chloe Kelly, they changed the game. It could look like a repeat of England winning the Euros again.
Oh, I mean, yeah, France is my easy one. I'm always high on France and steadily rooting for them. Ale. But I could go England, Germany, or even Germany, England, to be fair.
Yeah,
I'm trying to like,
for now.
yeah, I feel like I'm trying to put aside recency bias, but I also am trying to acknowledge that in like the first game, there were so many across the board unforced errors. Like it looked like everybody was kind of shaking off the rust. So I don't know if that's an accurate little snapshot of everything to come. Like to your point, we had the conversation like, is that the England or is this the England? And I don't know that we've seen anybody to their fullest potential yet. And as the competition gets more challenging, like, I don't know, I could go either way.
Well, as a nation in a international tournament, a major international tournament, you don't really want to hit your peak yet. You want to be
Yeah.
getting there by the end of the group stage and
But you
start
also don't want to just be like giving the ball away accidentally, consistently in the first ever, like first game, last game, just not a good look.
probably should keep the ball. Well, that's it, guys. Match day 2 in the books for Euros. We get match day 3 tomorrow. 2 different groups are in action. We will get to see Sweden and Germany on Saturday. Lori, do you have games tomorrow? There are 2 matches tomorrow. Are you on any of
Yes,
them?
I have Finland, Switzerland, which is determines who finishes second in that group.
Ooh, who do you think's going to do it?
Ooh, I don't know. I mean, honestly, I've really enjoyed both of these teams. Like Finland, we thought were going to be way more defensive. They've come out. Kosala, they have Quivisto on the right. Switzerland, Pia Sundhage fans, a lot of American U.S. fans will know her from her time with us at the U.S. But I thought they were going to be defensive. Their nations rallied around them. They're coming out in like a 3-back, and like they got so many young players. So
another team missing a big player in Ramona Bachmann coming back from her injury. That's a big absence for them.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't have a prediction yet. I'm just pumped.
Yeah, we're just helping you prep. Don't worry.
I like it. Yeah, I'm here for it. Thank you.
Guys, more Euros happening tomorrow. Of course, A3's got you all covered for it. This Friday, 2 days from now, we have another tournament kicking off, Copa América Femenina. Don't go anywhere. We're 10 NWSL players competing in it. Hey everyone, welcome back to Attacking Third. Christine, we might have tricked some people with that, guys. We were just
So what happened? You got people scattering. I'm in there like in the chat and I'm like, dang, bye. All right, fine, guys. I feel like I'm that meme of Narcos sitting on the swing by himself. Like
no, there's always more A3, guys. You never know when we're going to keep rolling with it, because we are talking Copa América Femenina and NWSL Players Spotlight. It's the 10th edition of the tournament. It all starts on Friday, July 11th, and it'll run through August 2nd. It's being hosted in Quito, Ecuador. This will serve as the qualifiers for the 2027 Pan Am Games. There are 2 groups of 5 teams each. The top dog in this competition is Brazil. It kind of always is Brazil. They've won 8 of the 9 editions of this tournament. Argentina, the one other lone winner in 2006. Colombia, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. They finished runners up 3 times in this competition. They're searching for their first ever Copa America title and trophy. Christine, could this be the year for any other nation besides Brazil to win?
Is that not the beauty of football? Anybody, it could be anybody's day, like you show up and the divine culture gods descend upon you and all of a sudden you're a winner, you're a champ. Yeah, why not? I mean, I would love to see Colombia finally get it together and rival Brazil, but also I'm not gonna lie, I love Brazil. Not because I love Pau de Queijo, but because you got to get some samba in them boots. Like they play pretty ball. Okay. I also like that they kind of knuckle up. All right. I love the rough and tumblers. So, if you can dance and throw a left hook, I'm in.
Watch out for Christine at the clubs. Who knows what she'll be doing on the dance floor. All right. You mentioned Brazil, Christine. We also love them because they have a number of NWSL players. I mean, across this entire competition, 11 NWSL players are competing across 3 Copa America teams for Brazil. There are 5 players: Ari Borges, Angelina, Gabby Portillo, Marta, and the goalkeeper Lorena. In Colombia, there are 4 players: Daniela Arias, Ana Maria Guzman, Lacey Santos, and Angela Baron. In Venezuela, Dana Castellanos and Barb Olivieri. Lori, NWSL is taking a break, but we still get to watch some superstars. Who are you watching in this competition?
Oh, I mean, well, Brazil, no matter what, because it's like Orlando Pride are playing on Brazil, so we're lucky. So they might be taking a break, but the Pride are not. But also Colombia, to Christina's point, because a wonderful run in 2023, have all the capabilities, individual quality. Lisa Santos is somebody we see with the Washington Spirit too that I'm very excited about. But I do think when you look at the tournament overall, it is all about Brazil. Always. I mean, they're just their talent, the run that they had last year at the Olympics too, playing for Marta. Marta's not retiring. Jokes on all of us. So exciting for us.
Hilarious.
But yeah, they're going to be the team to beat, which also makes it exciting though, because we've referenced it actually in this episode, which is France having to come back and beat them 3-2 after being down 2-0. So it's going to be a fun Brazil team to watch and just see how they start the tournament off strong and what their capabilities are, which
Marta,
are endless, but just how they show up.
Endless. And with Marta back, it does add a different wrinkle. 39 years young. She's personally looking to win her 4th title with Brazil in this competition. But Colombia, for me, this could be the year for them to play spoiler a little bit, to make it back to the final. And then it comes down to game management and so many other factors that go into it. But with Guzman on this roster for Colombia as well, you mentioned Lacey Santos. This is a midfield group that I think could cause some trouble, especially when you look at the rotation Colombia could have in their group stage before they get to the knockout rounds, before they have to be competing against potentially Brazil ultimately in the final for the title. They also, not an NWSL player, but Linda Caicedo as well from Real Madrid, the 20-year-old
just
player.
dynamite.
She's a leader for this team too at just 20 years old. And if you remember back to the last Copa America, Caicedo had a tremendous tournament. I think she was named player of the tournament in
she was brilliant in 2023 too at the World Cup too. Exactly. Coming alive, taking the tournament by storm.
Better. And so her ability to not only attract a lot of defense from the other teams and occupy a lot of space, create, but she's going to be able to set up her teammates a lot better now. Her maturity continues to grow, her skill level, the competition she plays with. I want Colombia to give Brazil a run for their money with.
So you're going aguardiente, shots for Lisa. All right. Yeah. You're going to be blacked out, but maybe you'll win.
Christine, who are you watching? NWSL players. There's 11 of them. Who are you picking in this tournament to keep your eye on?
I'm going to go Angelina because I love her. But I mean, I'm going to go Brazilian players.
Yeah, I like that shot.
Gotta, right? Like, I think that she doesn't get enough shine. Everybody in the chat that I was going to go Marta because who doesn't go Marta, but I'm going Angelina. Yeah, I'm rooting for Brazil. Sorry. I'm going to just let my flag fly here.
I mean, it's not that hard to say because they're a stacked team. It's a stacked tournament.
I want to have a good time, Lisa. I want to have a good time.
No, she'll be fighting people and dancing her samba away in the club. You know where you can find Christine watching Copa America in the club. It's all starting, guys. AFCON has also been underway. I don't know if you saw match day 2 today. There was 2 matches. It was Zambia against Senegal. Barbara Banda, she scored a brace. Rachel Kundananji also had a goal in their 3-2 win over Senegal. And Morocco took down DR Congo, come from behind win 4-2. But the NWSL love goes to Banda and Rachel Kundananji in their game against Zambia. All 3 goals for them to pick up 3 points in the AFCON. That's our AFCON update. That's our Copa America update. And that is it for our conversation today, guys. The Tagging Third is going to be back on Friday, July 11th, 5 p.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube. We'll have Darian McCall. Lori, are you back with us?
I'm back. Yep.
Go, guys. You can hear how she ultimately predicted Switzerland, Finland to go tomorrow. Thanks so much for hanging with us, guys. As a reminder, we're nominated for People's Choice Podcast Award for Best Female Hosted Podcast. Register at podcastawards.com/app/sign up. There's a link in the YouTube description, in the chat, in the podcast description. Select Best Female Hosted Podcast in the drop-down menu and vote for A3. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. Lori, Christine, It's been a blast. Any final thoughts from either of you before we bid the people adieu?
Just can't wait for the summer of soccer to continue. Whoa. That's how excited I am. Oh my God, say that 3 times fast. I am just super excited about this summer of soccer. I mean, I was like sweating
Say
now
that
because
3
I was
times
nervous
fast.
I wasn't going to be able to get it out for the second time either. So, but I did it. Okay, I did it. Yahoo!
I'm glad
Okay.
that you glitched before I did.
Hilarious.
Try to
Okay,
say it fast.
she just called a game. She did a podcast. A lot of words today. Words are hard,
Whoa,
Lori.
that was wild.
Vive la France!
Love
Allez,
it,
allez,
guys.
allez. I see you,
Enjoy all
Ian.
the Euros competition. Enjoy Copa America, AFCON, everything. And thanks for watching A3. We'll see y'all on Friday. For Christine, Lori, and Mark, and Lisa, this was Attacking Third.